Okay. All set?
All right, here we are, week number 6 of mindfulness meditation class. Just a few of us here tonight. We have a lot of things to cover tonight, so let's get started with a sitting meditation. If more people join us as we're going, that's fine. We find our meditation posture, which is becoming familiar. We're firmly planted, feet on the floor, hands are resting. We feel our body, we feel our sits bone on the seat, feel our back straight but not rigid. Drop our shoulders and let our body relax. Bring attention to the breath. We just notice the sensation of each in-breath and each out-breath. When something else takes our attention away from the breath, whether it be a thought, a sensation like a sound, or maybe some discomfort, or an emotion like, why am I here? We just note that and come back to the breath. Nothing to do, just be aware of each breath and keep coming back to it. That's the practice. I'm amazed sometimes at how simple it is. While sitting or just during the day, just bring attention perhaps to our walk or to our breath or to what we're doing. That's the practice, and how life-changing that simple thing can be. Now and then, we may need to come back to the body and note the position of our body and how we're feeling. Sometimes if our mind is wandering, just coming back to the body and then to the breath helps. We call it grounding. one way we can think of the thoughts is like an ocean. Thoughts are waves, even storms on the top of the ocean. But just below the surface, you don't have to go far below, and it's still. And in mindfulness, we can be like an observer below the surface, just looking at the waves, noticing what's going on, and just letting it go and being in that still place. Good. I didn't want to start until Marcia was here, so that works out. Good.
She disappeared.
Disappeared.
I have several different things to share with you tonight. Before that, I'd like to go around and share what's happening with our practice. And the first thing I'd like to hear from each of you is, where and how do you experience the breath?
For me, I recognize the air coming in through my nose, and I try to take it all the way down to my stomach, and then when I breathe out, I feel the breath coming out my lips. Is that what you're looking for?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I just feel it, and I try to do it slow.
Uh-huh. Yeah, that's what I'm looking for, just how it feels, just the sensation, right? Yes. Not thinking about what kind of breath I'm taking or well, that happens, but then you just come back to the feeling.
Yep.
Good.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
The practice is going good, really good for me. Do you want us to tell us a whole 6-week experience now, or you want to wait?
That'd be okay. I'm going to ask you for feedback about that later in writing, but a little bit of brief.
So for me, the first couple of chapters were familiar from what I have done in the past, but there are some points that you made that really helped out and made a huge difference. It's just your thoughts. Just once you have a thought, just gently bring it back and don't be harsh on yourself. And that not only tied into the meditation, but as I read a lot of times, I get mad because I read like 5 pages and then I don't remember what I was reading.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd always get pretty harsh on myself. And I think I was very critical on a lot of other things, so I stopped doing that.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that really helped me be more relaxed. I think at work, in work situations, and just speaking on the WebExes and stuff like that, I noticed that I'm a lot calmer than I used to be, which is a huge improvement. So that's been going really well. When we got to the emotions and loving kindness, that I felt like I took a little bit of a step back because that kind of hit I could just feel it in my heart. And I know there's a lot of layers there that need to be peeled away. So I'm going to definitely continue to do those practices and work on that. But I do feel I'm a little bit more, I don't want to say friendly at work, but just more conversational with people and not just to myself like I had been. So that's been some big improvements for me.
Thanks, Kim. That forgiving yourself is a huge part of the practice. That's good for you.
Yeah. So I definitely enjoyed it.
Marcia, where do you feel the breath?
I too take a deep breath through my nose, kind of all the way to your bottom of your belly and diaphragm, and then to blow it out so I feel it on my mask, or at home I just feel it on my nose when I blow it out my mouth. So yeah, kind of similar to Kim, but yeah, not just take a short, quick breath. It's more of a deeper, relaxing breath is what I do. And as for my practice, I'm glad I came to this. I'm always was like a people pleaser, didn't like confrontation, and I'm finding myself with the help of these tools to realize that, I do have to uphold the policies and procedures. It's their issue, it's not my issue. Because I always was like, what am I doing wrong as a leader when it really is not, it's you that's not punching the clock.
Right.
So if you don't get a paycheck, I'm sorry, but you don't get a paycheck because you have to punch the clock. I mean, just normal things that, where I would, put it all on me. And it's like, no, that's not my problem. So that's what I'm learning, is to be more, I shouldn't say assertive, but just bring it back to what's really the problem, and being okay with that, I mean, because that was always hard for me, so.
Yeah.
Sticking up for myself, I guess, is
Good.
what I'm saying.
Yeah. And being able to accept that you can't change everything yourself, you just have to do what you do, right?
Well, exactly, exactly. You're right.
Good.
I can't change their behaviors. It's their behavior, their decision, their consequence.
Yep.
Glennie?
I similarly always start with a nice full deep breaths, belly breathing, and then as my mind wanders, I'll notice I'm sort of, my breathing can often be a clue that I'm wandering, because I'll have a lighter, higher, shallower breath, and I'll come back, and I'll reconnect with the fullness of my breath. So that's my breathing. And overall, for me, the 6 weeks have been really helpful to remind myself to touch point throughout the day, aside from regular practice, just to be reminded and have that, we use the word tools. When during the day I get anxious or something's happening, I can just pause, take a few breaths. It sounds so simple, and yet we get so fast in our spinning that it's nice. This has helped me reconnect with remembering the tools and saying, okay, pause, take a walk, wash the dishes.
Right.
When I'm brushing my teeth, just let all that go and just be here now. And not that that's where I am all the time by any means, but I find that practice very helpful.
Thank you. I feel it mostly in the rise and fall of my belly. I had something helpful occurred to me that I had read, but I really understand it a little bit better now in the past week or so. I don't know if I shared this with you before about that. An analogy for mindfulness is a laser beam and a floodlight. No? Well, it's both. So the focusing on the breath during sitting meditation is like a laser beam. We're focused on a specific thing. And this is really important because it's calming, and it also, we really don't notice when our mind wanders unless there's something it's wandering away from, typically. So that laser beam is an important part of the training. We're training our mind, but it can be hard. It's frustrating sometimes, and you think you're not doing it well, and so to keep in mind that it's also the floodlight, and the floodlight is more just noticing what's going on around you in so many ways. So I particularly notice this when I'm walking outside. That's a great time to practice the floodlight, because I come back to my walking. So even if I'm walking at a normal pace, I'm just mindful of my steps and my legs and my feet, and my mind will wander. But outside, there's so many things going on, and you can just let each thing happen and then let it drop. And then there's a new thing and let it drop. So that kind of open awareness, that floodlight, just being mindful of everything going on is helpful. And so I think it's a balance for me. So if I'm getting frustrated with not having the laser beam very well, I just say, oh, the floodlight. I'll just notice what's going on around me, because that takes kind of the stress off a little bit.
I love your ocean metaphor today during the waves up on top, and then just take a dive. Dive harder. I love that.
Well, so in these 6 weeks, we started off the first week with the sitting meditation, focusing on the breath, which is our core breathing practice. In weeks 2 and 3, we talked about and practiced some mindfulness of body things, the body scan, the yoga, walking meditation, and eating meditation, all good practices. Then in week 4, we talked about being mindful of thoughts, and particularly how to deal with unpleasant emotions with the rain meditation. Last week, week 5, we did loving kindness meditation, which I'm learning is not just it is expressing good thoughts about people, but it is also a mindfulness technique, because it helps train our minds to be mindful of other people. This week, we're going to talk about wrapping up, and not wrapping up, but continuing our practice. But I also want to share some things with you about that is also about mindfulness relating to other people, and that is mindful speaking and mindful listening. So if you'll please go along with this a little bit, a little different tonight. There's a handout first about listening, and mainly listening. Is that 2 of them on there, Kim?
Yep.
Good. So don't look at the second page for now, just the front page. And let's read this. Who would like to read the first part about listening? Marcia, thank you.
All right. Listening. Can one listen without any conclusion, without any comparison or judgment? Just listen, as you would listen to music, to something which you really feel you love. Then you not only listen with your mind, your intellect, but also listen from your heart. You listen with care, objectively, sanely, and you listen with attention to find out. I think there is an art to listening, which is to listen completely without any motivation, because a motive in listening is a distraction. If you can listen with complete attention, then there is no resistance either to your own thoughts or to what is being said, which does not mean that you will be mesmerized by the words, but it is only the very silent, quiet mind that finds out what is true, not a mind which is furiously active, thinking and resisting.
Thank you. Glennie, would you read the next part?
Impediments to listening. When you are listening to someone, become non-judgmentally aware every time the mind does any of the following. 1. Judges what the other person is saying. 2. Creates ideas of how to fix the issue the person is presenting or how to fix the person being listened to. 3. Reflects on how the issues being presented are similar to the issues you are experiencing in your own life. 4. Thinks about the past or future. 5. Conceives of how you will respond to what the person is communicating.
Kim?
As each of these thought processes are recognized, allow them to immediately pass out of consciousness and go back to listening from the space of silence. It is only those patterns of mind which we are unaware of that can deflect our ability to listen from a place of presence. When we do listen from this clear and open space and wait until the other person has completed their thoughts before we decide on how to respond, our reply is typically relevant, open-hearted, meaningful, and gives the other person the wonderful experience of being heard.
So that first part from Krishnamurti is sort of a goal of where we would like to be, where we're just very open and not adding impediments to listening. The second part realizes, just like our mind wanders in meditation, while we're listening, we're going to do some of these things. So it's not that they're bad, but they are a distraction. We sometimes we're noticing what the other person says, and then we go off and we think, yeah, I had something like that happen, and we think about that, and then oh yeah, I have to listen to them. So the first step is realizing what you're doing. So that's what I'd like to try with you a little bit. So for this exercise, we need to get into pairs. This works best, I've found, if we have two people sitting side by side but not looking at each other, so there's no facial expressions involved, okay? And all right, pick where you want to go. I'll take the other one. So I'm going to, I have to participate and keep time too, but that's all right. So I'm going to ring the bell, and when I ring the bell, one of you, I want to talk for about 2 minutes, and I want you to pick a situation in your life recently or currently of where you're having a difficulty with some person. Family member, a work person, just some kind of difficulty, okay? Probably better right now not to make it some huge thing, but at least something that's irritating, all right? Something that you can talk about for 2 minutes. And it's easy to talk about this for 2 minutes. So first you'll need to pick who's going to talk first, because you'll each get a chance to talk. So it's an opportunity for mindful speaking, and I'm going to give a couple instructions about that, but it's also primarily about mindful listening. So I want you to try during that time to be aware of those distractions, and I'm just going to remind you what they are again. Judging, trying to fix the issue, thinking about how what they're talking about is similar to your own life, going into the past or the future, that's always a clue. Oh, so I'm not here now. Or thinking of how you will respond to what the person is communicating. That is what we do so much, right? So you're going to do those things. Try to be aware of it and then let it go. We always say let it go, okay? Ready to try this?
Whenever you are.
Okay. I'm going to, I should probably be, would you take this chair,
Yes.
Marcia? No, I want
Oh,
to
you
just,
want me to sit in this chair?
yeah, cause I
Well, you
wanna
sit on
be,
this chair,
I
oh,
wanna
got
be
it.
facing that way so if people can hear me. Thank you.
That's fine.
Nothing's easy sometimes. So, this is a little part from this book, Tara Brach, Radical Acceptance, that's amazing. And she has a part in here about communicating with awareness. And here's just some little pointers for both speaking and listening. You want to talk first?
Sure.
Okay. So set your intention. Just establish your intention to be present, honest, and kind. Okay? Let your body be an anchor. So start off by taking a breath. Feel your body. This is a meditation. Listen from the heart. That involves letting go of these thoughts that we've mentioned. Let go of your agenda for the conversation. Stay aware of the feelings and sensations that occur throughout your body. When you're speaking, speak from the heart. Try not to prepare and rehearse what you'll say in advance.
That's me right there.
Pause, relax, and attend. So this is really helpful. If we slow down and pause, it is helpful. It reminds us to come back into the moment. So don't be afraid to pause and take a breath as you're speaking. Those are some of the things. So I'll watch 2 minutes here, and then I'll ring the bell when time is up, okay?
One of the things I find myself
While I was on
challenged with
vacation,
lately
of
is,
course, I had to have
aging
one of the other
parents,
executive directors.
I've been struggling with understanding my mom lately. She just doesn't seem like the
before I left on
person that
vacation,
she,
and just told them to make sure that they
she seems
punch
out of
in the punch out,
character
and if
to
they
me.
forget to put it on
and I
the-
worry
on the
that,
utility sheet.
is it like early dementia?
So,
Is it partially
Last
that?
evening, then in the middle of the night, 3 o'clock in the morning, I
Is
was
it just
texting
old
message
age?
from one of the girls that's on night shift.
I brought some of my concerns up to my
you know, it was
sister, and she's
negative
recognized some of the
that
same
She's upset because she
things,
isn't
and I
paid
also
for
said something to my
4 hours
dad.
And so,
He's just like, I don't
I
know,
just
I
let
live
it
with
go,
her, I don't
went
notice
back to bed,
anything.
and
We're both getting old, I get the same, some of the same things,
from
but,
the other girl saying,
so
she
I'm
did
trying to
10 hours, so,
understand her and
I
see where
did
she's
get up at
coming
that
from,
time
but I'm having a
and
hard
text them
time
both back, and,
with that.
you know, told them I'd look
And
into it today.
it was-
You know, they both were
She
very,
was
very
more
rude about
vocal
it,
about what
and
her
I said,
wants
you
and
know,
needs
I
are,
brought it
but
back
she
to,
has never really been
this
in
is
her
your
way.
choice, your
I
consequence.
think I've always felt like,
You know, I told you
I've
before
always
I
tried to
left,
help
make sure
her
all
and
your
encourage
hours
her
are
and
in,
just take her
but I'll
places
check
and
it
do
out.
things
So
and
I
show
did
her
look into
different
it today.
stuff in hopes that she would
Getting back
build
to
her
them
confidence
tonight
and
to let them know
be a
that
little bit
yes,
more
they did
outgoing
not
than someone who kind of
record
hides under
those
a rock a
hours,
little bit.
either on the UTA sheet or on
So that's a little bit, that's
time
one of
box.
my
So therefore,
challenge
we don't
there,
know
and
the hours. So,
sometimes she just,
and just bringing it back,
I built a
as
house,
to a teaching
my
moment
husband
for
and I
them.
built a house right next to them,
but meanwhile, it made me
and
very
sometimes that
angry.
closeness is good,
These text message beeps
but
in
then
the middle of the
sometimes
night
it's a little bit too
because,
close,
you know,
and
they know that they
they,
only are to, call if there's a resident.
expect whenever family members come out of town just to stay with us without asking, and I find that a little bit
Flexible, they can call me
frustrating,
at 6 when they leave in the morning, I'm up already at
I'd like
5,
them
so.
to check the dates with us and make sure we are okay with it,
I
instead of
just
just
learned-
telling us they're staying with us, so that's been
Like in the morning this morning, I just kinda
a
had
bit
to
of
stand
a
there and just
challenge
go
too.
for my breathing,
So it's,
so I wouldn't blow up.
yeah, so now I'm excited about going
so
on vacation, so I
I'm
can
just
take a little break
That
from that
I
and,
can give
from
them
work,
their hours
and just
and
kind of reset, so I'm trying to
log them in forums.
figure out what's the best,
They are happy and that they learn from this
forward
experience.
still to have a good relationship with my mom as she is getting
Also,
older
while I was
and
on vacation,
she's,
they did have issues,
so
my
that is,
dietary
I know
we
where I
decided
had.
to eat some of the Oreo cookies they had for the residents, which again caused some staff
Cause all I
to
just figured, I just want the best for her,
notify
her to be
people.
happy.
And, you know, so we had to do a whole investigation on that over, 3 Oreo cookies, which is a big
What I was talking to.
Well,
So I will be at the
Yeah.
service with them, with all the staff too, to let them know that, it's not allowed. I'm not going on vacation.
So, let's just discuss for us a minute, what the listener experienced, during that talk. One thing I think we all notice is, the urge to respond. And this is really polite conversation. You want to acknowledge that you're listening by nodding or saying yes or responding in some way. So that's certainly appropriate. But for this exercise, I've asked, I don't know if I said it specifically, but I didn't want you to respond, okay, just to listen. I had a class in medical school that was about interviewing skills, and they would videotape us, and that was one of the key things, is that you have to, to show that you're paying attention. Now this is I'll admit this is a weakness of mine in practice. I just so much enjoyed listening to people's stories that sometimes I would be smiling, and they would say, "I'm in pain and you're smiling." Oh, I'm sorry. So that's one thing I noticed, is I wanted to respond and I was nodding, but I didn't say anything. I noticed a feeling of, I was chuckling a little bit about getting calls in the middle of the night. I'm sure I was judging a little bit how you responded. I'm judging favorably, I must say, but even that's a judgment. Let's see, what else? How about the listener over there? What did you notice?
I found it very challenging to not make eye contact
Mm-hmm.
and to not acknowledge them, but I also felt a freedom and sort of like dispassionate supporting ability that I hadn't really experienced before, where to sort of be the witness or be the, there was a sense that there could be like a more profound processing for the individual you're listening to by not connecting and making a lot of nods, but I did catch myself, I maybe giggled a couple times, I made noises and my face was moving. It wasn't, yeah.
You really notice that so many times all people want is to be listened to. You don't need to give them any solutions to you or advice. How about Kim? What was it like to speak in that way?
I'm not someone who usually speaks for a long time like that, so I found it a little bit hard, and I usually don't express my feelings and how I feel, and I was able to I did that, so I guess I would say that's probably a big win for me, and I know I need to do that more, but I think there are times where I was talking fast, and I have a tendency to do that when I'm talking about something that happens to me personally like that.
Yeah. Especially when you have a time limit.
But I think it was good to talk for that long to kind of process some of the stuff too, maybe.
Marsha?
Similar, just, I found myself too trying to, talk faster, tried not to put too much of my feelings into it. But it's hard when, it wakes everybody up in the house,
Yeah.
not just me. But yeah, just the listening, just to know that somebody was just there, not to judgment, not to judge or anything like that. I mean, I just found that it was more relaxing for me, because nobody's snapping back at you right away.
Mhm.
That I felt I could freely talk and, get my frustration out and then let it go.
Kind of like car conversations. Sometimes cars, when you're driving.
Yes,
Oh, yeah.
that's a good time to talk.
Yes.
Okay, let's turn the tables, and the other person will speak, and the listener, do try to do some mindful listening. Notice any of those distractions that might occur, and then try to let them go.
This
Well,
is
I'm going to talk about my
funny
sister-in-law.
maybe, but in January, my husband and
She's affectionately known as the witch of the family, or the
Who has
bitch
a
of the
dog?
family.
I, every night when I go home
Uh,
at dinner time,
uh,
this dog
Jeez.
just barks and barks.
Jeez.
He's excited. He says he's a
Seems to-
talkative dog who's trying to make
judging her,
conversation
but she's
and show you how
needs to
happy he
prove
is that
herself
you're there
all the
to
time.
feed
You
him.
know, she's always
But
uh,
it
one-
makes the
one-
inside
one
of my
better
brain
than everyone
really
else.
bang against my skull, and it's
uh,
really alarming.
um,
And I get like hot flashes just listening to him. And I haven't figured out.
is pausing. I actually
How
haven't talked to her very
I
much
know
recently.
how I would do it,
Um,
but my husband has
it's
his own
source
way,
of
and I don't think
irritation
the
in the family,
barking bothers him
that,
as much.
uh,
It doesn't wiggle his brain.
they
it
haven't been,
wiggles my
she and her husband
So trying to find a
son
unified
haven't been able
way
to
where
come up
both
and
of
visit
us
her for,
are doing the same thing.
almost
but
2
the
years
same
now. Well, COVID did get in the way. And then they were planning to come up and he got
And
sick.
so we actually got
But
him
then we
muzzled.
found out that they were visiting
And
other
my thought
relatives.
is
in
every time the dog
Wisconsin
comes
for
in,
years,
as
so,
soon as there's a bark,
that-
we just put the muzzle on. He can breathe, it's a fabric one
Mhm.
that goes around his
You know,
nose.
I
And he can
realize
breathe, but then if we're
that-
consistent with that, will he figure out
they have their
he can
reasons.
work outside but not inside?
And,
That's a question.
Um,
But we may never know the answer because we
that,
can't seem to be consistent. And
I
then
can let
it
it go, but it's still,
kind
you
of
know,
brings
still
up
feel it.
that dynamic of each having different ways of looking at things.
No, I don't think
Catch
there's
myself in
anything
judgment
in particular I need to do about this.
of how my husband's doing it instead of just stepping up, instead of coming up with a unified plan.
Person,
Let's
but
just
maybe,
do.
you know, it probably is appropriate to call people out.
And so that sounds like a
You know,
strange
I
thing
think
to
that
be
they could do better in some way.
worried about or bothered by, but that's the most troublesome thing right now in my home
I,
life is
you know,
this
I
barking
guess I
dog.
haven't had that much difficulty
And,
with people in my
Who I
life
do like,
lately. I could probably
but
find some other ones,
very
but
bouncy.
this one always comes to
And
mind, so I
I
just
think it
chose this as.
also is indicative
topic.
of the challenge of my husband and I coming up with a unified plan and not being stuck and sort of polarized. Well, I think we should do this and I think we should do that. Instead of just
Comments on listening, Kim?
This was a really good exercise for me because
just go into a trigger.
I have a tendency to fix things and interrupt when people are talking, and I don't mean to do it. And I always have eye contact, so that really bugs me not to have eye contact. And like to nod and just have facial reactions to the things that are said. So that's it's really hard for me. And I can feel it like in my chest, kind of like I wanna participate in the conversation. So
You wanna fix it for me?
Because obviously there's some relatable things that you sort of be like, oh, I understand type of stuff.
Yeah.
So it was hard, but it was very good for me to experience that because it's going to help me to not interrupt people by accident.
Of course, in many families, if you're going to get anything said, you have to interrupt, don't you? But so that's a real art. Marcia?
I found it very hard as well because yes, I wanted to interject, but again, in order to be a good listener, you have to just sit there and concentrate on what they're saying to you because they may be saying one thing but really meaning a different thing. And, you know, in this case where you kind of started out, you know, yes, it was, you know, there's probably nothing you really can do, it's just that you're frustrated and that was the message I kind of got across and you just needed to vent. And so, I mean, that's always been hard for me too, because yes, I always nod and acknowledge and, you know, try and guide them or, you know, assist them. But sometimes you just gotta let them talk to get to really what they're really meaning and what they're really saying to you. That's kind of what I got out of it, so.
I felt very freeing to be able to pause, not to have to come up with the right words all the time, but just to stop and think about what I really felt and wanted to say. And sometimes there wasn't much to say, and that was okay. I guess that's the one thing I noticed. Glennie?
I felt a little funny talking about something that seemed mundane or like a practical problem, but that actually had deeper layers. And so it helped me connect and contact some of those deeper layers that I'm still sort of thinking about. So it was very helpful, and I learned from those that went before me to slow down because I heard the fastness. I tend to go fast when I'm nervous or when I'm doing something new or it's just a natural thing. And so I actually consciously tried to go a little slower. Maybe it didn't sound like it, but I tried to go slower. And yeah, it was a worthwhile exercise.
Thank you.
Yes,
Thank you.
yes, it was.
So that's right, this was an exercise, but I think it's some valuable lessons that we can use every day. Let's look at the second handout, which is maintaining and enriching your practice. So this is the end of our 6-week introductory course. We've done a lot in 6 weeks, and we can just keep building on that, but there's so much more available, of course. But these are some things I think are really valuable things to keep in mind, because if we really want this to change our lives for the better, we need to keep doing it. So number one is set a daily time and place. So if you have set a time and place in your home, first thing in the morning, before bed, or other times at work, that's really valuable to have a particular time every day for your formal practice. Number 2, choose a practice. So the sitting practice is the core practice. You may do it guided or without guidance, but any one of the practices is valuable. So sometimes you can do the same thing standing. You can do the walking meditation, yoga, body scan, loving kindness, and you may want to use a combination of all of these. And you may kind of come to a formula of how to do it each day. Maybe what I do after a little reading, I do some mindful stretching, then I sit for a while, and then after sitting, I do the loving kindness meditation. But you can find what works for you. For today, I woke up at 3 a.m., couldn't go back to sleep, so I couldn't do the sitting very well, so I did walking meditation. Number 3, set a time. So if you can set a timer for yourself, it's good to set a goal of I'm going to sit here for 10 minutes or 20 minutes. And whatever happens, I'm just going to sit here. And just realizing that it may feel like I'm not able to concentrate, I'm not meditating well, it just feels bad. Just staying with that is so important. I think Sharon maybe mentions in the book one time, one of her teachers said, just put your body there. And so I think time is good for your formal practice. Number 4, read. So there's so many materials that can enrich our practice. And I've given you a list of some resources, and you can find so many more, and that can be helpful in supporting your practice. Number 5, keep a journal. It may be helpful for you to write down either daily or periodically your thoughts and your experiences, and then come back to it. That can be very helpful for many people. In fact, just journaling is a meditation practice. 6, attend a regular group meditation. So we have a group here now. We are a group. And we can decide if we want to keep meeting, we can do that. The library welcomes us. So we'll talk about whether we want to come back sometime in the future, because doesn't it help support your practice to have a group? And just being here, a lot of people say meditating in a group is deeper somehow. So we can talk about that. Number 7, attend a class or a retreat. So there's lots of other opportunities, especially now, online Zoom opportunities or lectures you can listen to is really valuable. And I've talked with you sometimes about going to a retreat where especially if you can do an in-person retreat where you go to a retreat center for the weekend and you hear some talks and you do mindful eating, and the whole time you're meditating is quite an experience. Number 8, when you're brushing your teeth, just brush your teeth, or whatever activity it is. Just bring mindfulness to activities in daily living, and we have so many opportunities to do that. And every little time we do that, that's training ourselves to be aware. Amazing. The same goes with mindful eating. So if you can slow down your eating, especially if you're eating alone, really be aware, take your time to notice each bite, the flavor, and when your mind wanders to what you're going to do that day or whatever, you realize it and just come back to the sensations and the motions of eating. Wonderful practice. 10, when waiting, do a brief meditation. So how many times during a day we find we're waiting in a line somewhere or waiting for someone, and instead of waiting being an irritation, it's an opportunity. You can do, just take a couple of breaths, pay attention to your breath or body. You can do a loving kindness meditation for the people around you. So that's another great opportunity. How many times? 11, take a moment to just listen, just feel body sensations, just see. That's what I was talking about with that floodlight, about just being aware of what's going on around us and just stop once in a while. Stop. My pastor had a good sermon last Sunday, and it was about Jesus' last miracle before Gethsemane, and it was about healing a blind man, and one of the things the pastor emphasized was, it says, Jesus stopped. He said, Jesus never healed anyone on the run. And so he was saying, this is a lesson for all of us, just to stop, be aware, and especially be aware of the people around us and what maybe they need. 12, this is another stop. Pause when in a stressful situation. So instead of just reacting, we can learn to respond by just taking a step back, maybe even taking a couple breaths, notice what's going on before we react, especially in stressful situations. So valuable. 13, notice when you are judging yourself or others or experiences and sensations. So it's normal to judge other people and to judge ourselves. And once we realize that we're judging, we can let it go because we don't really need to. That happens, right? So if noticing that and forgiving ourselves for judging is a big step. 14, become more aware of your consumption habits. So if you're slowing down and you're being mindful, you may notice that you're eating out of habit or eating too much or too fast or drinking. You may notice, why do I need to drink this right now? Can pause there. Or when you're buying, that can be a habit. Watching TV is certainly a habit. I'm not saying watching TV is bad, but just be mindful of what we're doing. And I think mindfulness brings us aware of these things that we get used to doing, and we can think, is this really helpful? Maybe it is. I hope those are valuable for you, and I hope you will continue your practice. So in that light, would you like to come back?
Yes,
I'm willing to.
I would, I am, but I'm gonna have to be at work on Thursdays now, so getting here at 4:30 is gonna be kinda hard.
Okay.
But like 5, I could probably do.
Okay. That'd be all right?
And what if we did it like once a month
Yeah.
and we picked a favorite one of the month, or pick one, like the first, the second, the third?
You want to
The
meet
fourth.
you're gone next week?
the
Would
third Thursday of the month, I have staff meetings, so that won't work for me.
Okay.
So today is the 4th. So next week would be the 1st. How about if we meet in 2 weeks?
Are you on vacation or are you back?
I'll be back next week for Thursday, but then will you be gone? Or
Not
will you?
yet. No,
Okay.
I'm leaving on the 23rd, 22nd.
So would that be the
That'd be the second
second
Thursday then.
Thursday, 5 p.m.
So
Second.
let's just set that one meeting, then we can decide from there, okay?
Okay.
All right, okay,
At
And-
5 o'clock.
okay. And I can let Amy know,
Yes.
okay? Good. Because she's not,
I think she would be interested.
she's not, She's not excused yet. Let's put it that way.
I know she was sorry to miss this.
Good.
Well, thank you very much.
Yes.
This has been a great pleasure.
Now I have some assignments for you for tonight, if you have a few more minutes, please. The first one is for yourself. I'd like you to write down how you can keep your practice going and what obstacles do you have in terms of doing a regular practice.
Was it goals and obstacles?
Goals, and particularly what's holding you back right now from if you're not doing it every day, or if you're not doing it very long, what's holding you back? Here's a book to write on.
Here's your pencils.
Thanks.
Thank you.
This is just for you. We can talk about it if you want, but I mainly want you to just reflect on a minute what's holding you back from a regular formal practice every day. And perhaps set a goal for what you want to try to do. Maybe you can't do it every day, that's okay. See, try to set some reasonable goals. This assignment reminds me of something we did in I should just let you write, I won't talk. Thank you. Continue to write. So does anyone care to share anything?
My goal is just to sit for at least 50 to 20 minutes daily, either doing the traditional sit or just the body scan before bed. That's the goal.
Good.
My resistance to that, again, you know, having to adjust my schedule for work is always a big thing. Again, to find uninterrupted time, I'm a routine girl. I like my routines. But again, my job don't always let me do that. So, you know, that's why the body scan at night before bed, when I actually go and lay in bed, is my time then. And I can gauge that if I need to go a half an hour earlier or not. So that's where I'm thinking that might work best for me. I mean, I can do a 20-minute sit and then a 10-minute body scan, and I'm, you know, gotta have a backup plan.
Very good.
And then just to keep my motivation up,
Yes.
you know, to keep diligently doing the practice, because I do think that it is beneficial.
Yeah, that's a biggie. Motivation. It's easy to get out of the habit.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Then, I guess for me, definitely goal is 4 times a week minimum. I wanna reread the book.
Mm-hmm.
For me, the focus more on the emotional meditations, and then with loving kindness, do at night, when I'm laying in bed. Because there's a lot of times where my mind is just thinking, so I noticed that doing the loving kindness kind of slows it down and gets me in a better mindset. And also the waiting in line, I think that's a great time to do that. And then listen better and not interrupt. Those are my goals. For what's holding me back, I guess it's committing to the time and change the schedule, which is the hard part. And I really like to be able to sit and look out a window and like see nature. I think for me that just connects better. And I did find a place at work today that I can do that in my lunch hour. So when I'm at work, I can go in this room by myself where I won't be interrupted, lock the door. It's another a good place too to do it, besides at home. At home I have a place I can do it, but when I'm working, away from work and that time, so.
Right. They say that doing loving kindness meditation before you fall asleep improves your dreams and your sleep.
I'm wanting to reconnect with a 7 a.m. morning yoga practice followed by a meditation. Also yoga reading meditation. And then on the days that does not happen, the body scan loving kindness recipe, and maybe that anyway whenever that would be really nice, because I wake up a lot. I wake up at 2 a.m. quite frequently, so I think the body scan loving kindness would be a really helpful tool for that. And listen without interrupting.
It's good to set goals, but to be forgiving ourselves.
Yes.
You have to be practical too.
So this next one is for me, please. I'd like a few comments about the class, and particularly things that could be improved. I may use this in, I may use what you say to tell other people, but I wouldn't tell your name. And if you would give that to me before you leave tonight.
Yes.
I have one more handout I'm just gonna put next to your chair. This is kind of a summary of the different meditations we did. It's by an instructor I had at a retreat one weekend, Susan Mickle, who is known for her clarity. She just knows how to say it so clearly. So I'm just giving you that for your information, if it's helpful for you in the future to review some of the meditation techniques and attitudes. I'm just leaving that for you. I think we'll just stop right there, okay?
I don't know if I know, yes.
We'll just take a minute to sit. Feel our body. Notice each breath. Whatever else happens, just let it go. Thank you for your practice.
Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure.